Early in 2026, in February, I'll be conducting the orchestra myself, something I greatly look forward to. And we have a program which mixes early modern masterpieces by Scriabin, Ravel and Stravinsky with another work of my own, Palimpsests, a piece that was premiered in 2002, so it's just over 20 years old. And it's a piece which uses a very eccentric orchestra. There's a mass of wind with no oboes and only one contrabassoon, a very large complement of brass, 3 percussion, piano, 2 harps, 8 upper strings and 8 double basses. So the middle of the orchestra, the cellos and most of the violas sections are not involved. I wanted to capture a sound which was a peculiar mixture of a sort of big band sound and that of a church organ, and with lots of wind and brass. It's quite also percussive in nature. The word palimpsest is normally used to describe manuscripts on parchment or on slate, which have been repeatedly written over, sometimes across centuries. Parchment was extremely rare and valuable 800 years ago, and scribes would often use the same surface, the same parchment, for writing repeated texts on top. And now when you look at these extraordinary manuscripts, you can see a collision of different types of writing, or maybe different languages on top of each other, which with a little bit of work you can decipher. The concept can be applied to architecture. If in London you have a Roman ruin and you build on top of that a Tudor house, and that then disintegrates, and you build an early modern building and you add something of the modern period right at the top, 21st century style, that is also a palimpsest. And so this piece is about superimposing types of music that seem to be very far apart from each other, but in fact they're all the same thing. Alongside my own work, Palimpsest, there's 3 marvellous masterpieces from the earlier 20th century. The first one is the Poem of Ecstasy by Scriabin, which is for an enormous orchestra, including 8 horns and organ. And it's a marvellous piece, orgiastic, over-the-top, ridiculous piece, with the typical and irresistible harmonic palette that this composer has. And it's a piece which is wonderfully orchestrated, and Scriabin was a fantastic pianist, really virtuosic pianist, and his early music sounds like Chopin, and then he began to develop his own style. He developed a superb orchestral technique by effort, and this piece took him a couple of years to write. It was not an easy thing. It's a marvellous piece. I've conducted it many times over the years, and it's an enormous pleasure to perform. Then follows my own work, which is very different because the Scriabin is very lush, and my own piece is much crisper and sort of more transparent. After the break, there's this marvellous piece, the Symphony of Wind Instruments by Stravinsky, which is a very austere work, written as a memorial to his great friend Debussy. But it doesn't sound at all like Debussy. It's almost like a religious ceremony. It's scored, as it is in the title, for wind instruments. And it's a very, very profoundly original work because it's made of a series of modules of little different types of music, each defined by key, by timbre, instrumentation, and by tempo and meter as well. So all these little bits of music follow each other in a sequence, and there's no transition and no blending of them. So it's a very particular work that ends with a very solemn and beautiful chorale, serene and majestic at its end. And then we're ending the program with, again, another work which I'm deeply fond of, which is the complete ballet of Mother Goose of Ravel, which is a sequence of fairy tales, in a way for children, composed and orchestrated with the most sublime degree of mastery. But it's also music which, at its core, has a sort of almost unimaginable simplicity, akin to Mozart in a way. And what is fascinating is the degree of deep feeling that Ravel is able to conjure with, unlike the Scriabin, the most economic means and the greatest tenderness as well. We're going to play the whole ballet, which lasts about half an hour. It's quite a substantial piece.